Tonight, communities are still reeling from the devastation of Storm Dennis. Amidst the worst storm to hit Wales for 4 decades, we'll assess the impact across South Wales. Whilst many homes have been turned upside down, we meet Leslie, whose shop has been ruined.
Oh, it was absolutely devastating walking back in this morning. Makes you absolutely love thinking about it. You just work so hard.
And I'm in the community which year after year has to deal with the nightmare of flooding. With another storm on the way, why people in the valleys are feeling threatened by more landslides. And I've been to meet the volunteers, helping those in their time of need.
Hello and good evening from Pontypridd, the town at the epicentre of a storm the likes of which hasn't been seen in Wales for 4 decades. This town and others like it across the South Wales valleys were battered by unprecedented rainfall over the weekend and severe flooding. Tonight we'll be speaking to the communities worst affected. We'll be asking them what happens now and what happens next. First, let's speak to our correspondent Hannah Thomas, who's in Crickhowell for us this evening. Hannah.
Yes, Andrea, I'm on the banks of the River Usk, and here, just about 36 hours ago, it was the highest level ever recorded. It has dropped to a relatively low level now, but with it, the damage caused by Storm Dennis is obvious to see. If my cameraman pans round, you can see the bridge there, Andrea. That is the main route in and out of Crickhowell. And on the third archway, there's a large chunk being taken out of this bridge. It's closed, it's unstable, the power of nature has won. You can just see, because of that, the scale of the flooding they've experienced here.
Winch to safety from the strongest storm in living memory. Crickhowell saw the worst flooding in 40 years, and for some the only way out was by helicopter. Firefighters who called for help from the air were themselves running for their lives.
The crews worked in not just arduous conditions, but conditions that were hazardous to their own health and well-being as well. Mid and West Wales covers 2/3 of the landmass of Wales. 74 rescues during the weekend, 43 incidents specifically here in Crickhowell, and even now we're still involved with pumping out properties here in Crickhowell as well.
Well, the mark on the pink house gives you some indication of just how high this water got. I'm 5'7", and it's more or less the same height as me. It got from the ground level all the way up to here in just 8 minutes.
Andrew Fryer, who lives here, was today showing local politicians the extent of the damage.
It just seemed to come in tremendously quickly, we couldn't get anything out and weren't expecting it really to flood because it hasn't in the past.
Next door, Wendy Price has just seen her hairdressing salon for the first time since Saturday night.
You can't get insurance here?
No.
What are you going to do now?
I really don't know. I don't know. I've got a wedding on Friday, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I was hoping to be able to save some stuff so I could go to the wedding. I don't quite know what I'm going to do, quite frankly.
Well, the floods have also wreaked havoc elsewhere in Powys. This is the Royal Welsh Showground in Builth Wells. The water is halfway up the commentary tower in the Horse Ring. The River Wye, yet another to record its highest ever level.
We had our busiest weekend ever. An unprecedented weather event led to us releasing 90 flood warnings, including 2 of the most severe flood warnings, which means, damage to property is going to happen and lives are at risk.
There's no doubting that Storm Dennis was a very rare event. It saw not 1 but 4 of Wales's biggest rivers rise to their highest in history. But the question tonight is whether these so-called weather bombs will become more of a regular occurrence in the future. Well, we've just been given a bit of good news for the communities of Crickhowell and beyond, actually, Andrea. There were fears that the bridge would be shut for well over a week, but structural engineers have been to assess it here and they say it's not unsafe. It should be open at the end of the next day or so. That would be welcome news for people because, let me tell you, I tried to get into Crickhowell earlier. A journey that should have taken me 20 minutes took me well over 2
hours, Andrea. That's the scale of the problem here. Crickhowell has been well and truly cut off by flooding.
Hannah Thomas, thank you for the update this evening on that situation in Crickhowell. Well, here in Pontypridd, we're on Mill Street, one of the worst streets affected by the flooding in the town. This row of shops here has the River Taff running just behind it, and a real torrent of water gushed through these businesses. Yesterday, the water was about a third of the way up this terrace of shops. Now, you might think this is the calm after the storm. As you can see, the skips just keep on coming here. This is the sixth one to be filled up today on this street. From 10 a.m. this morning, they've just kept on filling them. Livelihoods just being chucked away. We can speak to Emma and Rez now, who run this jewellery shop in the town, and they've built this business up from scratch over the last 12 years here. Thank you very much for talking to us while the clean-up starts this evening, because you've got a real task on your hands. What was the situation that you faced when you came here yesterday morning, Emma?
Just complete, just devastation, you know, the shock, the extreme of it. I've never ever seen anything like it in my life. The amount of water before we could even get into the building was just unbelievable. You know, you can see on the walls where the water level has gone up to inside the building. And then when we did eventually get in, the sheer force of the water that's come in through the building at the back from the River Taff, and just taken everything like a big tsunami effect. The cabinets that you can see in there.
And those cabinets, you told me earlier, 6 people are needed to lift those cabinets usually, and the water just took them by force.
On their sides,
Nothing prepared us for what we witnessed yesterday morning. Those cabinets, yesterday we had to lift them. They all were flattened by the water. It normally takes about 6 people yesterday to lift it, just get it back upright again. It's unbelievable.
Can you estimate at all the value of what you've lost?
Well, you know, I don't know where to begin. We've lost everything.
Yeah.
And Emma's built this business for the last 12 years. And, you know, we're so much part of the community. And, you know, everything that we see is just been destroyed. And, you know, the worst thing for us now is insurance companies, we found out this morning, they won't cover us for flood damage.
And
So we have no idea what to do.
the one thing that has come out of today is you've had friends, family, strangers offering help to you. How has that felt?
It's just been overwhelming. The kindness of local businesses bringing tea, coffee. All the local independent cafes have been bringing coffee and tea all day, food, and friends and family. Without them here today, we could never have done this. Never. It's just unbelievable. You know, the support we've had. Complete strangers, you know.
Thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck as you attempt to rebuild, and I no doubt we'll come back and visit you again to see how things are going in the future. Emma and Rez, for now, thank you very much for talking to us. Rhondda and Taff Council have said that they have designated £1 million of emergency funding to help businesses in the area. But as we say, communities across the South Wales valleys are being affected tonight. The very nature of a valleys town like this means the water flows downhill. Next we're going to go to Ellie, who's in Nangarrow for us this evening, and she's with people who are gathering to support each other.
Well, Andrea, when you talk about coming together in a crisis, it doesn't get much better than this, really. This is Taffswell Rugby Club, and these are the donations that have been made in just the last 24 hours. We've got toiletries here, food, clothing, some baby products, bedding and cleaning items, whatever you might need if you've been made recently temporarily homeless because of Storm Dennis. It's here and the volunteers are ready to give it to you. I've been speaking to some of those affected by the flooding in Nangarrow today. Monday mornings at work don't get much worse than this. Businesses have been wrecked in a weekend.
Oh, it was absolutely devastating walking back in this morning. Makes you thoughts and love thinking about it. You just work so hard. It's just upsetting. I'll start all over again.
It took 5 men to put Leslie's granite worktop on, and Storm Dennis ripped it clean off. The power of the water has been felt on Oxford Street too. On Sunday, residents clutched their prized possessions as boats took them to safety. Yesterday was about rescue. Today, it was time to rebuild. Storm Dennis hasn't left one house on this street untouched. As the water's gone, it's left behind mud, silt, debris and destruction. The Evans family has lost more than their belongings. Their pet dog didn't survive the storm.
Not my home. It's like looking at somebody else's house. There's just sludge everywhere. The aftermath is just unreal. You don't realise how bad it's going to be.
Just shocking, because like you never think it's going to ever happen to you, but then it does, and to come home to something like this is just depressing, really.
For most, life is on hold while the insurance is sorted. But for others, it's all hands on deck.
We had a lot of people turned up today to help us, but there's not much we can do right now other than empty the place.
Well, these things don't usually come together without lots of volunteers, and they're usually the idea spearheaded by one person in particular, and that person is Terry. Terry, why did you decide to set this up?
We had a phone call about 4:15 early hours of the morning to say that our horses were trapped in the flood. So mad panic down, and we could just see the chaos, cars floating past us and everything, and it was just awful. So I thought, well, we've got a rugby club here, let's open it up and get what we can and do what we can for the community, and it's been amazing, I've got to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting busy here tonight now, isn't it? You've got lots of stuff here. What's the take-up been like? Have people been coming in who've been affected?
We've dropped a lot of it off because they've lost their cars. So the club minibus has been on overdrive. So myself and my friend Sharon have been driving around and dropping things off all over the place, not just in Taftswell and Angarrow. We've been at Fevlys earlier, we've been at Pontypridd, so it's everywhere really, as much as we can do.
This is when communities in the valleys really come together, isn't it? How proud are you tonight?
Everything's just been amazing. The community have been, I mean, they've been effective massively, and they're still pulling together and still helping out where they can. Big companies like B&Q and Tesco's have been involved. The co-op in Taftswell have been supplying us with tea and coffee, and everyone's just been absolutely amazing. It's overwhelming, it is.
Well, I hope this continues, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thanks, Terry. Tonight they don't need any more clothing here at this centre, but they do need cleaning products, bleach and mops. If you've got it, and you can come down to Taftswell Rugby Club and help out. The recovery operation is well underway here.
Ellie Pitt in Taftswell, just showing the community spirit again, shining through there. Thanks very much for now. Well, it's not just white goods, personal belongings and household goods that have been ruined in this storm. Some people have had vital medicines washed away as well, and they don't know now where they can get the help that they need. Kate Lewis has been speaking to people in Llanhilleth and Blaen y Gwent.
While for many in Llanhilleth, the floods have cost them their furniture and destroyed parts of their home, for others, it caused even bigger problems. Rachel has Crohn's disease. The vital medication and daily equipment she needs was damaged when water poured right through the downstairs of her home.
My supplies were under my stairs, and it just all soaked up through, absolutely ruined. They were not usable. It was the colostomy bags along with the supplies. The scary moment to think that, you know, I got insecurities living with it myself, and to think that it was awful.
Unable to drive, the single mum of two had to get a lift to her local hospital in Abergavenny.
It was a nightmare. Every road we needed to take was either blocked off or filled with water, you know, but we did get down there eventually.
Around 150 properties here in Llanhilleth have been badly damaged. This morning, the clean-up operation got underway, and donations, along with food parcels, have been arriving. But what the people here want are answers.
If it was a river, it would be something different, but it wasn't. Angry, upset. All my worldly goods have gone. And I think, is something that could have been prevented.
Nothing was done, or you know, not even a sandbag brought around. You know, if they know there's going to be trouble with a pump in the village, why wasn't Welsh Water around? This is what I really don't understand. Because, like I say, prevention is better than cure. And I think this could have been prevented.
Today, the council has been carrying out an inspection and work on the nearby culvert and pumping station to try and determine exactly why these properties were flooded.
We didn't have any indications. We were monitoring the river levels, and we were aware that the river was just coping with the river levels, but we didn't have an indication of the nature of the storm surge, I don't think it's possible to predict the storm surge and the speed that it happens at. And naturally, we're just now trying to work together with the community to recover the situation and then look at what we need to do to try and see if there is anything we can do to ensure this doesn't happen in the future.
But for now, the community will continue to rally around and look after one another. Kate Lewis, ITV News, Llanhilleth.
Now, whilst this area in Pontypridd has faced flooding for the first time in decades, there are areas of the South Wales valleys that are facing it time and time again in recent years. And Jonathan Hill is in Aberdulais. Jonathan.
Andrea, thank you very much indeed. This is Canal Side, and there is an eerie silence here tonight because many of the residents have been forced to leave their homes and go into temporary accommodation. They've left behind all their worldly goods, as you can see: fridges, freezers, washing machines, wardrobes, picture frames. It is a really sad, sad sight. And what you can't see is the raw sewage that is coating everything here, and there is a terrible smell. Dean Thomas Welch has spent the day with this extraordinary community who are remaining strong.
After the flood, the throw-out. Residents of Canal Side in Aberdulais spent the morning ripping out carpets, throwing away ruined white goods and sofas that have been contaminated with flood water and raw sewage. Storm Dennis brought a rush of waist-high water on Saturday night in just a matter of hours. But these homeowners have been here before.
Well, there's certainly a sense of deja vu to what's happened to this community. In 2018, the homes on Canal Side were the victims of Storm Callum. Then water and sewerage rushed through their homes, causing thousands of pounds worth of damage. You'd think that two flooding incidents like this in such a short space of time would break a community, but that couldn't be further from the truth. There's a real sense of strength in this community. Everyone is mucking in and helping each other out.
Anthony Braithwaite is helping to clear out his mother and father-in-law's house. They've lived in the property for over 40 years, but once again they are counting the cost so soon after recovering from the previous flood.
There's no positives. It's your home, it's everything you own. You have to leave it behind. You destroy it, like say, it's brand new house, the new kitchen, new living room, the painting, the skirtings, everything all needs to be destroyed. How they cope with it is beyond me because I couldn't. It's just emotional, very emotional time.
Refuge collectors from Neath Port Albert Council have been helping residents with the clear-out. Brand new sofas, TVs, fridges and freezers taken away to be destroyed.
We're up here helping people clear the mess from the flooding, you know, small items, just to help them out, you know, in a needy time. Like, unfortunately, that horrible time, isn't it? You know, they are pretty high-spirited, you know.
The storm water may have penetrated their defences and left household goods ruined, but they can be replaced. What's not broken is the resident spirit. Dean Thomas Welch, ITV News in Aberdulais.
Well, I've come inside one of the lovely little cottages here, and the water just 36 hours ago was right up the wall here. And I'm with one of the residents who is staying put and not leaving their home, Jules Stewart. Thanks for talking to us tonight. What was it like in here 36 hours ago?
Well, we were keeping our eye on the river levels. We hadn't had any warning apart from seeing the weather on the TV. Around about 2:20 2, it started coming over the overflow at the top. In the morning, yeah, we were at the top. And we rushed home, and by 3:20 it was spewing through the toilet, the sink and the bath. It was raw human sewage. We had bought our own floodgates to keep the water out. But
so you tried to do the best thing?
We did everything we could to stop, but it was unbelievable. It was waist high.
And you've been here before, haven't you?
Yeah, well, 16 months ago, Storm Callum, exactly the same, and we were assured it wouldn't happen again. I'm not naive enough to think we wouldn't flood, but the sewage issue is huge, you know.
You've remained incredibly positive, and so have so many residents on this street. How are you staying so strong?
Well, this is our village. And it's a small street, but we're community, we're tribe, we look after each other. We're not in each other's houses all the time, but when it comes to something like this, we've got to, because I feel like we're the forgotten street.
Are you not tempted to go?
No, I'd never leave. I love Canal Side, I love the people here, and we've got this house, and we run a cancer retreat here as well, which provides free holidays for cancer patients.
And what's the state of that?
and that's completely ruined too. And I'm just devastated. We had people booked in for Thursday, and we can't do that for them now. So yeah, that's the sad part for us.
Well, I'm so sorry, Jules. You managed to get a fire going. At least you can keep warm on this bitterly cold night. Thank you for talking to us, and I hope you managed to get things cleared up pretty quickly. Thank you. Well, water hasn't been the only issue, surprisingly. Landslides from old coal workings have been bursting down the hillside in some valleys. Nobody was hurt, fortunately, but there are real questions tonight and demands for inspections to be carried out to make sure it doesn't happen again. Our national correspondent, Rob Osborne, has been to one site in the Rhondda.
Oh my God, that's bad.
It's Sunday, and the side of a mountain has just collapsed. It crashes into the river that runs through the Rhondda Fach near Tylerstown. Nobody is injured. But it's only today the sheer scale of that collapse is obvious. And something else that's clear is the amount of coal that was still on this mountainside. Gerald watched it all happen.
There was a roar, and you could see the mountain starting to slip from the top area there. And within a couple of hours, the whole lot had come down there.
Do you feel vulnerable?
Yeah. With this going on, yeah. These valleys are surrounded by coal. They were built on coal. It's a frightening prospect, you know. If that could have happened on this side of the mountain, it would have been a totally different outcome.
His father, Cliff, is a former miner.
You look at this landslide here now, what goes through your mind?
Oh, I have a balance straight away. So I've seen it when I come up now. And believe me, you wouldn't want to see that again. I wouldn't.
I've been speaking to people on this street. It's Bryn Haylog and it's opposite the landslide. And they described yesterday as eerie, the sound of slurry crashing down the mountain. And they're just thankful that this happened in front of their homes, not behind them.
Local people are now calling for inspections of all sites where coal has been dropped. Some are more obvious than others. But it's not always clear who owns the land. The Coal Authority have told ITV News it's not them, and the council say they're not sure if they do.
Well, I can tell you our engineers are on site right now. We will carry out inspections not just now, but also going forward what is needed. Establishing exactly who's responsible for this area is going to be key. But if there's longer-term capital works needed to ensure safety of the public and those properties, then I would expect it to be funded, and we are in discussion with Welsh Government about that.
This is what happened after a weekend of heavy rain. And these valleys know all too well of their history with landslides. Now some are questioning whether this was a one-off or an early warning. Rob Osborne, ITV News.
Happy? Well, amidst all the misery of the last few days, an incredible human warmth has really shone through. People have been turning up with provisions, offers of help, offers to clean the homes. And I met one man who's given up his time and come down here to try and help.
Yeah, any scrappy bits can wear some bags there.
Amid all the muck and misery, a helping hand. When Jim heard this community was in desperate need, he answered the call, hopped on a bus, and has been busy doing whatever he can.
Well, I just saw it on the news. It was Sunday afternoon, and I thought, I booked some leave. I thought, I haven't got anything planned for Monday, so I thought I'd come down to Canal Side particularly. Well, I walked through Torna, jumped on the bus, walked through Torna, come to Canal Side, and I thought I'd come and see if I can give a couple of hours.
Luke, whose home this is, has lost everything, and he isn't insured.
All my neighbours are very busy clearing up their own mess. Yeah, I saw Jim helping the neighbours, and it was a huge relief because I was expecting to have to do all this by myself.
On this street, you really do get a sense of community. Everyone knows each other, and they're all pulling together. Although he won't admit it, Jim has made a real difference, doing much of the heavy lifting for complete strangers. And on a day like today, it's the little things that can make a big difference.
I never met him before. He's on his day off and he's knocking on the doors and helping us, like he help us take the sofa out. Anything big and heavy is just helping, and I think that's the true Welsh Valleys for you. You know, everyone just pulls together when it's like this and do whatever you can to help each other out.
You must be at the end of your tether, are you?
Yeah, it's soul destroying more than anything.
For many of the residents of Canal Side, they have a terrible feeling of déjà vu. They've been here before. They also told me they feel forgotten about. But in some small way, Jim has restored their faith in human nature. It'll be many months before this street is back on its feet. Some residents now want out. Others aren't sure what all the fuss is about. And that is it from us here in Aberdulais, where the mopping up and the cleaning up will continue for many, many weeks. I'll hand you back to Andrea in Pontypridd.
John, thank you very much. And as the darkness sets in here, I can still see people in these shops sticking around trying to salvage some of their belongings. And Ruth joins me now on Mill Street here. We've been speaking to business owners here today, and you know, they're fearing for their futures. The force of nature has left them fearing for their futures.
Do you know what? I think, you know, I've been covering weather for over 18 years now, and this is when you realise just what a difference to people's lives weather makes. You know, we all say, don't we, what's the weather going to do? And, you know, we all know, do we need to take a coat, an umbrella, a hat, waterproofs? But this is at its very, very worst. This is when weather really does affect people's lives. And I think just, you know, just listening to the people that you've been talking to, John's been talking to, everyone across Wales tonight, yes, the weather has been awful, but there's a real sense, isn't there, that actually it's not going to beat us, and, you know, we'll get through it somehow, however best we can, really.
And is there some respite? Is there going to be some respite for people who are just trying to salvage something this evening?
I'd love to say that, you know, we're out of the woods. We're not quite out of the woods just yet. I mean, I don't think we're going to see anything quite as bad as we have been. For the time being, there is no named storm. So Storm Ellen is out there somewhere, but she's nowhere near us at the moment. So in a sense, yes, there's good news. The slightly less good news is that it's not all going to be plain sailing. And I'm sorry to say, well, it's winter here in Wales, and winter weather doing exactly what winter weather should. Low pressure, very much the dominant feature, so it is going to be very wet, and it is going to be very windy indeed. You have been warned. Let's take a look at the forecast in a little more detail.